Right, hello. Today we're going to be doing rationalising the denominator. First of all, what does that mean? Well, rationalising means we want no irrational numbers. In this case, we're talking about surds, and surds are square roots that we can't simplify any further. Second part of the title, denominator. That's the bottom half of the fraction. So basically, we don't want any surds on the bottom of our fraction. We want a surdless bottom. That's our goal for today, to get a surdless bottom. So let's start with a little situation. Most common one you're going to see, 1 over root 2. So you can see here we have a surd on our denominator. We don't want that, we want to get rid of it. But what can we do to this thing? Right now it's an expression. An expression you can think of as 1/2 of an equation. It's one of the things you'd see on either side of the equal sign. And when we have just an expression by itself, all we can do is either add 0 or multiply by 1. The reason we can only do these two things is because we need to make sure that the value, when this expression is evaluated, is the same. So in terms of the operations we're going to do, we can add 0 or we can multiply by 1 because they will give us the same answer as what we had before. That doesn't seem on the surface like it's going to be very useful, but if we remember now that any fraction, if we write, say, 7 over 7, that will simplify down to give us 1. So we can replace our plus 1, or our multiply by 1, with multiply by any fraction as long as the numerator and the denominator are the same. So we're going to use that fact, and we're also going to use the fact that if we have the square root of something, and we square that thing, so we times it by itself again, we will get the radicand, the number underneath the square root, which is 2 in this case. So let's use these two facts, and we'll try and solve this one over here. So we're going to take our expression, 1 over root 2, and we're going to times bottom by 1. But we're going to remember now that we don't need to put 1 in there. We can replace that with any fraction. And what I'm going to do is, you can see here, root 2 gives us 2. So we're going to use root 2 in this situation. You're always going to use whichever surd is on the bottom here. So we've got root 2 over root 2. And now when we do our multiplying of these fractions, we multiply across the two rows. So on the top, we're going to have root 2. And on the bottom, we're going to have root 2 times by root 2. Remember that these roots are going to kind of cancel out with each other. So we're left with just 2 in the end. Nice and simple. We'll have a look at a general rule then. So what if it's not a 2? What do we do? So let's imagine the situation where we have 1 over x, or root of x. Do the same thing, multiply by 1, and then replace that 1 with root x over root x. Remember that this has to match. Basically, the denominators have to be the same. And because these denominators have to be the same, it basically means that all three have to be the same, because these have to be the same as well, the numerator and the denominator. When we multiply across now then, on the top, on the numerator, we get root x, and on the bottom, the denominator, we get just x. So you can see sort of an identity, I imagine, as you can call it, where root 1 over root x is always going to be equal to, so triple equals, root x over x.